oh, I'm going to do this, or they're going to take my whole farm, kind of thing. So, but if they could give us some facts, if that's what you're wanting, ask these people to do that.
What I'd like to see, if possible, the lady who Bill's been speaking with, she's a good lady. Let's see if we can't get her down here to answer questions at the BOAC meeting.
I think what Daryl and
Joe.
I think what Daryl and her, thank you, said was that they're looking for outside independent counsel. And I feel the same way. It's not that I don't trust anybody. I would rather have an outside independent counsel to tell us what we can or what we cannot do.
Let's just fire the current attorney and hire the one you want for the board.
It doesn't have anything to do with Tim.
No, I'm talking about Tim. I'm talking about the BOAC attorney.
Well, because they're all confused with a difference in opinion, I think it's a wise thing for the council to do. I mean, I think it's wise to know from someone outside, is this the correct thing to do? What happens if we don't do this? I mean, you've already heard it from Herb and Daryl. I mean, I feel the same way. That's sort of a majority of the council.
I'm talking about majority council now. I mean, there's 3 out of 5 of you believe that you need to obtain an separate attorney for yourselves.
I agree with what Herb is saying, that we need to get an independent individual who doesn't have a horse in the race.
Well, I said let's go to horse's mouth and get the lady down here who's made these statements to Bill. Because, I'm sure, our meetings are taped and it'll be followed up on what he said that she said, and that'll be confirmed. But if you like, I think you really need to have her down here. Why do you have to go through the expense to hire another attorney, retain an hourly salary, if you will, to tell you what the person at the FAA, the federal government, can tell you, unless you don't trust them either?
No, the lady that we're talking about, what is her position exactly?
She's a program manager.
She's the one in charge of our whole thing here, our project.
No, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
And I would be too. I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, Tim, what you offered tonight was your legal opinion, and that may be, in his mind, it's right. In a court of law, if a judge may decide that's not the case. It's the same with the airport attorney. I mean, the airport attorney gave us his legal opinion, and we can. What they told us may be 100% correct. I'm not accusing anyone of any type of deception, but I just think at this point there's been so many questions raised that having an independent person, maybe she's the one that would be the closest to giving us FAA facts.
She doesn't really have a horse in the race.
She'll care to get the money or not.
I mean, it's her job.
Whatever size airport you think is necessary is what they're willing to accept the grant on.
And I'm fine with that.
And we can do this through the BOAC. I mean, I've attended those BOAC meetings, and it's just like watching paint dry. I wish they could give us, like the TIP board did. I mean, the TIP board gave us like monthly updates of where in every meeting, what they borrowed financially and whatnot. I didn't know until the other night there's 6 grants that the airport has already accepted. Maybe that's my fault, but
would that be correct? Payments.
I thought
6 different grants.
6 grants is what she said.
6 grants.
I wasn't aware it was 6 either.
I had no idea. So, I mean, that's an example of something I'm just in the dark about.
Well, we have the board president here if you'd like to ask him.
What's your question? How many grants we've received?
Yes.
I'm not certain exactly how many we get. Now, something I think you really need to understand, the definition of the grant. It's a reimbursement grant. It is not a grant, per se. We have to spend the money first and then prove to the FAA that we've spent it before it comes back. So we have no funds at all in our kitty that are grants.
So it could be one grant with 6 returns.
So what she referred to then were reimbursement grants?
We have been reimbursed for monies that we have spent.
On 6.
Okay.
Right. Part of it was spent for engineering. Part of it was spent for the purchase of from the Decatur Airport Corporation. And by the way, if I may say, I asked Melanie Myers if she would be on a telephone conversation with us at the last meeting. She declined.
So if you want information, you have to call her, pose the questions to her the way you may or may not want them answered as well.
And I think, and I'll say this with Mr. Manley, depends upon how you ask the question, what the answer is going to be. I'm not saying you didn't get the answers that you said from her, but I can guarantee you can pose them differently and get a different answer.
So, you know, who do you want to trust? Do you have to pay somebody? Do you have to buy someone's trust?
Well, that's the legislative branch's responsibility whether we want to hire an attorney or not.
But you don't have it budgeted, Bill.
May I say one more thing, Bill?
Yes.
If I may. After the meeting a year and a half ago, before we never came back, I called you and asked you if there's anything I could do for you, and you told me you knew everything you needed to know about the airport. Herb, I called you at the Hanson Center and asked you if I could meet with you, and I never did receive a call.
I did go to meetings after that, though.
Okay. But did you ask any questions?
Then you talked about fuel bills and who was going to mow the hay.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
All right.
But my point is, I mean, you can have an agenda with, items that you need to take care of, but I think there should be, updates on finance. If you have no money in the bank, I mean, I guess report that.
Okay, I guess I didn't put it out to the public, but I passed that out to each and every one of the board members.
All right.
How much we have in the packet, how much is in each account.
So that's what you're asking that you'd like to see.
I would like to see that on a
All
regular
right.
basis.
I can take care of that, and I can get forward to you, and along with the minutes.
Okay.
And it sounds like, Mayor, the next thing you would contact and see if we can get.
Some representative from the FAA down here, hopefully our program director.
That would be helpful.
I mean, I hope we could trust her. I think to be done at a BOAC meeting. I don't think this council meeting is the place to debate what happens with the airport until it's time to vote yes or no on the funding.
Well, one of the questions I had for Tim, you kind of answered here, and I mean, what is the council authority over the BOAC? The BOAC is completely appointed by the mayor. And, I mean, if we can vote to dissolve the BOAC altogether tonight, and it wouldn't amount to anything, we'd have to rescind the ordinance, which I really don't know that that's constructive at this point. But if we have no oversight over the BOAC, when we attend BOAC meetings, we're attending as an audience member, aren't we?
I mean, effectively, you are a constituent at that point. I
Yeah.
mean, you are to the extent, again, that if they take some sort of action that all of a sudden is back in your ambit, then at that point, you control, their further actions. But you're right. I mean, if they vote to approve purchase of fuel at this rate, it's not something that falls within council's bailiwick. So I mean, it's kind of tough for me to answer because it's a nebulous deal. I mean, there are certain things that certainly fall within the BOAC's control, and there are some things that pour over into council.
I have a question. In the meeting the other night, they made the comment that if the BOAC were going to sell land, they'd have to come to the council and get permission.
I mean, that's accurate.
Is there a way that we could put an ordinance in that if they want to acquire land, they have to come to the council?
Jamie, I don't know. I'd have to look at the ordinance again, but I'm not entirely sure that they don't already have to do that. That if they want to dispose or acquire land, or and Don Tribbett mentioned leases in excess of 99 years, that they would have to come back before council. So I'd have to check on the acquisition of land, but I'm not so sure that may not also be. I know disposal is, but acquisition may also fall.
Yes, it was my understanding so far that they didn't have to.
And
if
again,
they could come up with the money to acquire the land, then they didn't need our.
It could very well be. I mean, it would just be frankly. I mean, to be perfectly frank, I would call Don Tribbett and I would say, "What's your take on this, Don?" And I'd ask him to present to me the code sections that he's relying upon, and I'd go and look it up, and I'd give you my opinion as to whether I concur with his. But Herb's right. I mean, at the end of the day, we try to educate ourselves as best as we can and give you the opinion when you ask. But there's nothing saying that I'm any more right than the next person.
And Bill, if you have a problem with the BOAC owning the airport in name only, you better go set up house police stations as well, because we don't own it either.